Facebook is reportedly considering banning political ads ahead of the November election. The social network has faced criticism for allowing misinformation and hate speech to flourish across its site. One conspiracy group, known as QAnon, has spread unfounded claims about so-called deep state pedophiles and Satanists plotting against the president. President Trump has retweeted several QAnon followers, which critics argue has helped pave the way for the group's rise. The FBI identifies QAnon as a domestic terror threat. For more on this, CNET senior producer Dan Patterson joins me now. Hi, Dan. So why exactly is Facebook considering taking down political ads in particular? And how might this help stop the spread of misinformation?
So, Tanya, we should note that this is not yet an official policy. Reports that Facebook might join their peers in social media like Twitter in their ban of political advertising surfaced about 3 days ago. But we know after talking with the company, at least on background and off the record, that they've been considering this for most of 2020. Now, the reason they might consider doing this is twofold. One is the non-cynical answer, and that is just like Twitter and their peers. Look, political ads are kind of a can of worms for companies like Facebook. Now, the cynical answer, again, when we speak to people off the record at Facebook, it's that this is a can of worms for companies like Facebook. And, you know, even though it might seem like too little too late, they have faced this massive advertiser blowback over the last 6 or 8 weeks in response to the George Floyd protests. So take whichever one you want, the cynical or non-cynical response. Political ads are really challenging right now for social media firms.
Right. And so, Dan, let's dig into the specific relationship between QAnon and the president's campaign, if there is one, official or unofficial. Does there appear to be?
Well, let's just assume that there's probably not an official, at least that we don't have evidence that there is an official relationship. And Tanya, I know we end up talking about these conspiracy theories an awful lot right now during campaign season, but there's a reason for that. And that is, you know, when we look at the way the president uses Twitter, at least according to the data gathered by companies like Bot Sentinel, which track disinformation, misinformation, and inauthentic activity, we see, at least in 2019, that over 90% of the president's retweets were from inauthentic accounts and linked to conspiracy theories. Now, QAnon flourished on message boards like 4chan, 8chan, and others in 2017 and after. But what's really important is that this group amplifies very similar policies that the president also seems to stand behind. So there seems to be an unofficial relationship. Again, we don't have data officially linking the president or his campaign to this group, but when we see the amount of information that the president seems to share, it's almost undeniable that there is an unofficial relationship. He might just be scrolling through Twitter and see things that he likes, but there is such a high degree of correlation that it's between not just the retweets, but the type of content that the president shares, that it's pretty challenging to think that there isn't some sort of relationship between the group and the president.
Now, we do know that social media is tricky to navigate for both, you know, the Trump campaign and the Biden campaign. At the president's last campaign rally in Tulsa, Twitter users apparently who were opposed to the president urged followers to register for the rally and not actually attend, you know, causing the Trump campaign to apparently prepare for a much larger crowd than what materialized. Going forward, does the campaign have a strategy to weed out, you know, those really not planning to attend his rallies?
Well, I have been asking the campaign this precise question for quite a while, and that can has been kicked. At least the answer to that has been kicked. So I don't have an official answer for you, Tanya. That's because the Trump campaign just says, well, we'll talk to you later. We'll talk to you next week. We might have something for you, but we really don't know right now. It's really challenging to get a straight answer out of the Trump campaign when it comes to what their response is to events like this. It almost seems like they were trolled by a group of people who kind of took advantage of the Trump campaign's own braggadocio.
And so then what about the Biden campaign? What is the former vice president doing to protect his campaign against cybersecurity threats and malign online actors, both domestic and foreign?
Well, if you'll recall, in 2016, around this time, in the summer of 2016, the Hillary Clinton campaign was hacked and a bunch of information was released that was really damaging to her. Now, you would imagine that the Biden campaign, or at least the nominee of the Democratic Party, would really have their ducks in a row by this point. Now, I spoke with people within the Democratic Party and the Biden campaign, and they are hiring for a chief technology officer right now. They do have a digital officer, but nothing like a CTO. They're using almost the exact same group of people, including Eric Schmidt, who the former chairperson of Google, who advised Hillary Clinton. And they have only just this week hired a cybersecurity director. So when we see the scale of threats and the type of threats that face not just presidential campaigns, but almost any political campaign, from phishing to DDoS attacks to straight hacking, they're significant, and that the campaign is hiring these people right now. In the words of one person in the Biden campaign, it's like assembling an airplane while it's already in the air. Now, this is challenging language coming from the campaign itself regarding one of the most preeminent issues that the campaign has to address, and that is technology. Not just technology in terms of how the campaign operates, but they need really robust technology policies in place for a presumable post-election plan.
All right. Well, Dan Patterson, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it.
Great to see you, Tanya.